So let's introduce these two incredible players and what they will be doing. Spawning in the top right position, we have the yellow Terran player. It is from Team Millennium, Dashi. And his opponent spawning in the lower left, the red Zerg. The Chinese Zerg, who is incredibly aggressive. It is XiGua. So JoRoSaR, will we see a super aggressive opening? Will we see XiGua macroing it up and turtling to Broodlord Infester? Or will we see something in between?
I'm pretty sure we're not going to see turtling up, macroing into Broodlord Infester, because unfortunately we might then turtle up and decide to macro into Void Ray Tempest, and apparently that could be a bit of a problem. So we shouldn't be seeing that this game around. Of course, it is Heart of the Swarm, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see what these players can pull out of their sleeves. I'm really wondering if XiGua is going to attempt aggression yet again. A very long rush distance here on Daybreak could make that difficult for him indeed. So I don't know. I'm not entirely convinced that the aggression would work twice in a row here, but maybe Dashi's expecting that, at which point we're thinking about mind games and whether XiGua thinks he can get away with it.
I'm just waiting for Dashi to just mass make Widow Mines this game. Just Widow Mine rush his opponent, be like, Widow Mines, you save me game 1, you can win me game 2. And of course everything I'm saying in the early stage of this game seems to be 100% sarcasm, which unfortunately means that I'll get flamed in the Twitch chat because people won't pick up on it. I'll be like, oh my god, what is this new Bacaster talking about? Like, no one would go mass Widow Mines. But do you remember that ESEC game where we did see mass Widow Mines?
That was pretty funny.
That was funny.
I think I remember. That was a while ago, though. That wasn't an iSeries. That was way before, right?
Yeah, it was hilarious. It was brilliant. So anyway, what have we got coming down? Hatchery, Spawning Pool, Extractor for XiGua. So pretty much an identical opening to what we saw in Game 1. Dashi going to be going for a 1-Rax Command Center, because why mix things up? What worse could happen to you going 1-Rax Command Center than what happened in Game 1?
Well, quite. So we actually have a 1-Rax Gasless expand. Not something you see too often in Heart of the Swarm, admittedly. So let's see what it ends up coming to. I mean, Reaper expand is just a lot better in Heart of the Swarm because you get that constant scouting information, so it's interesting that no gas to be taken this time around. And I think XiGua will see from the timing of that command center, he'll go, hang on a second, there's actually no way you could possibly have a Reaper right now. And he'll know that it's gasless even though he hasn't seen the main base yet. So if he has something specific prepared for this, he will show it soon. But if he doesn't, I foresee both sides just macroing up. I think XiGua is going to be relatively happy anyway that he doesn't have to micro against Reapers in his main.
Which I think is a fair thing to say. You don't want to have to worry about Reapers. They are a bit of a pain. You can deal with them relatively easily. Dashi actually going for a 1-Rax CC opening. So 3 very early command centers. That's a lot of mules, a lot of SCVs able to be produced. And that, of course, is good news for our Terran player, but potentially bad news as well for the lovely XiGua, because if he doesn't take his third relatively quickly, he could run into some problems.
He could indeed. Getting that third base early, very, very risky, especially when we've seen so much early game aggression in this series so far. I don't really think either player would be comfortable just launching into that third base. Even if nothing else, like no game considerations aside, just the meta game, knowing what these guys have been up to, you have to be expecting aggression at all times. It's definitely not the kind of thing they go for. So going later on into this game, I wouldn't be surprised to see a considerable number of units before either player considers expanding again.
So, as we've got now, the Overlord flying in gets a good little read. I'm not quite sure if the Overlord saw everything. Didn't actually catch anything.
No, he didn't.
That is
he saw
really
8 barracks.
Got taken down, just saw that a couple more barracks were on the way, as you said, but didn't see that third command center, and that was the all-important thing to get spotted.
Yeah. Of course, potentially seeing a third command center would mean that he knows it's not some sort of all-in about to pop in. And that's, of course, very important to know as well. If you see a lot of production structures and you don't see that third command center, you might go into defensive mode very, very quickly. But if this is just for potential unit production so that you can defend your expansion safely, then that's a whole different story and you feel a lot safer macroing up. We see the Overlord that would be able to see the third command center still kind of chilling out over on the left-hand side of the map here, and it's going to take him another minute, maybe a minute and a half, before he actually gets around to seeing that. And it looks like one of the observers in this game rather helpfully pointing out that there is a Zergling there, but I don't really see what he's going to be doing.
Just seeing that the Hellions moving out, dying in the process, but hey, at least you know there's some Hellions there, I guess. Now, XiGua has been so passive this game compared to game 1.
That was the Doctor Who observer, man. Like, someone just randomly clicks there and goes, hey, look, this unit is about to die. That's basically all that was.
The Grim Reaper of Faith, just like, better keep an eye on this, it's all going to be over soon. Give the
Can you imagine? The Grim Reaper is actually just an observer in this game we're playing called Life. He like just randomly pings you and you die. For anyone wondering though, it's not actually us or our observer, it's one of the other casters or observers in this game that pinged that. Of course we have no control over their actions. But who knows, maybe it'll ping us another unit.
So BM
I know,
in a big lobby.
Exactly.
These casters. But yeah, we've got 4 Hellions on their way in. 2 Queens there though will be able to say no and force them back for the time being. Also, Overlords are still running in. As far as XiGua is aware, there is no 3rd command center down yet. Very little scouting information out in the open. Just knows that there's a decent number of Hellions pushing across.
Oh, and he might be able to do a bit of damage with this. The creep spread, I want to say that XiGua has done a great job of creep spreading between the bases, which is very important for moving queens back and forth and stuff like that. But as far as out into the center of the map is concerned, he hasn't done the best job so far. And the Hellions are only now at the forward watchtower, so it's not like those creep tumors have been denied for, you know, quite a long time or anything like that. Ooh, no cancel on that creep tumor. So he just hasn't been spreading the grid quite as much as he wanted to. And I'd like to see him pick that up a little bit. Maybe the presence of the Hellions will spur him into redoubling his efforts.
He may do. XiGua just starting up the macro hatch, also getting the Spire down, 1-1 melee upgrades on their way. Compare that to Dashi, who's got 1-1 pretty much at the same time as well. They're going to be very equal in upgrades this game, and arguably that's one of the things that helped Dashi late game by having out the 3-2 upgrades compared to just 1-0, I believe it was at the very end, for XiGua. And of course, upgrades play a critical part in the game the longer you have them out because they help every unit. And now, as we see, just Dashi starting to move across the map. A lot of Marines, 1 Marauder and a few Hellions. 2 Medevacs just joining in with this. 1-1 timing push incoming JoRoSaR. Will XiGua be able to hold it?
And Combat Shield, bizarrely, just starting behind this, so it's not like Daishi's going all in with this or anything. He is planning for the next phase of his attack should this not work. Trying his best to pick apart as many of those creep tumors as possible. Might even be worth a scan given the number of creep tumors here. There we go. And do creep tumors trigger the Widow Mines? I don't know, but we're not going to find out because it actually got taken apart a little bit too quickly there. Good hit off on some of those Zerglings, but here come the rest of the units and the Banelings coming in from both sides. Banelings from the back as well. There's nowhere for the Marines to run. Really nice engagement from XiGua, but is it going to be enough? It doesn't look like it. Marines still left picking apart these queens. A next round of Zerglings. Can this queen survive? No, she cannot.
And that is very unfortunate. Widow Mine yet again, the saving grace of Dashi, allowing him to do relatively good damage. Detection is now out there in the form of the Overseer. We also should have some Mutalisks coming out on the field shortly because we do have the Spire completed, so that's what XiGua needs to spend that 1,000 gas on fairly soon. The 2-2 upgrades also on the way for both players, +2 infantry armor, not yet started though for Dashi.
Oh, there will be no Commando Widowmine this time around. That Overseer making sure he picks them off early. And a Viking going in to clear out Overlords very nicely, although he hasn't seen the Overlord at the 3rd base location just yet. He's actually like a single hex away from seeing it. So hopefully he'll be able to pick that off at some point soon. Another Overlord going down at the bottom to this Marine drop. XiGua actually doing a great job of spreading his Overlords to see any and all drops that might be coming from the sides of the map, leaving him with the job only of looking after the center. So I really like that play from our Zerg.
So, the first Mutalisks are on their way out with 10 on the field now. They are just happily flying around here, being ready, not being that harassment heavy. A single medevac flying over towards the watchtower will get spotted by everything though, but does boost through, spots the 4th base coming out from XiGua, and that is the sort of thing we need.
All right, the mood is now just going to be picking apart this drop. I think Dashi knows that it's not going to be able to do too much damage. And there goes the medevac, but simultaneously a little bit oh my god, these Widow Mines potential to do a lot of damage here, but seeing them with the Overseer just long enough. And while we get a decent hit off, not the most amazing, and with these mutants as well, Dashi is going to have to move back. XiGua looking in a decent position this game. He's currently has a supply lead of about 40. He's going to be very pleased with that. He sees the 2 Widow Mines there, decides to go elsewhere. Very close to being within range, but the Zerglings will be able to pick that apart.
So, what do we do now moving forward? Well, you have to start thinking about what XiGua is going to do. He's been quite passive so far this game. He's only managed to kill 2 workers, but then again, Dashi has only killed, well, hasn't actually killed any. 0. +1 flyer weapons is now done for the Zerg player. More Widow Mines on the way out, and importantly, Hive is nearly complete. The normal tech switch is into Ultralisks. That is really one of the most effective ways to go into this, but it's quite late for that now, so we'll be interested to see what's going to be going on. Dashi, though, with his 4th base up and running, probably going to try and take his 3rd base up and running, probably going to try and take his 4th in the 3rd location shortly, once he clears out that Overlord.
That makes sense. He still actually hasn't seen that Overlord there, believe it or not, as a couple of Zerglings now in the mineral line, but will get cleaned up by some bio units. The Mutas seeing if they can get any damage done in the main, but Dashi putting up a lot of turrets here, so that's not going to be possible anytime soon. And I'm really surprised because Dashi hasn't even attempted to scout out this normal 3rd base location so far. We actually have some Banelings coming in as well, so I wonder if he can sneak into the mineral line, as we have a huge engagement coming out here in the middle of the map, Madals.
Yes, the Widow Mines are burrowing just in time. They don't actually have the Drilling Claws upgrade, which with how... with just how many Dashi's getting of them, I really think...
Here come the Banelings into the natural.
Yeah, the Banelings, they are getting really, really close, actually. This is...
Wait, what?
On an orbital command.
What? Why, XiGua? Why? Oh dear. That was so close to being so amazing. Look at how many SCVs are currently in the red and the natural, and now Dashi is pushing forward. The number of workers killed in this game is 13 from XiGua, but it could easily have been 30. A little bit of mismicro there on those Banelings is all it took, and it looks like he's going for round 2. He noticed that Dashi didn't scout that position out, so hey, why not go at it again?
Yeah, why not just keep going? Of course, that was XiGua's approach in game 1. A couple of SCVs getting killed here at game 4. Meanwhile, we've got Morlings coming into the natural, doing a nice amount of work there. Meanwhile, big engagement. JoRoSaR just outside the 4th base of XiGua, and we can see a good number of Marines here. Drilling Claws finally getting research. Banelings, are they going to roll in? No, they're pulling back.
Dashi needs to try and move the Widow Mines forward slowly, but it's taking quite a while for them to unburrow and reburrow. We have a couple of bio units now. There's nothing much he can do. He's actually checked up the Broodlords behind this, and there's a lot of Banelings morphed in. He needs to rush those Banelings through with the Broodlords, because look at this. The medevacs cannot actually keep up with the amount that Dashi is stimming. They're all at about half health, and here come the Banelings. Great connects there with a lot of the Marines, and the Speedling follow-up should be enough to take this apart. The Broodlords as well ensure that the ground army is going to get taken out now. That forward base has been depleted here, but simultaneously, number of workers killed only up to 15 from XiGua. While he was busy defending that, he didn't micro the Zerglings that went into the natural. If he just stayed in the natural with those, he could have killed about 10 or 20 SCVs. Instead, they got drawn back out to the forward base location, the 3rd, where basically a bunker picked most of them up. So a little bit of a shame.
Now we have a couple of Marauders dropping down to this top 4th base of XiGua. If he takes this out, it'd be good, but Mutalists are reacting fairly quickly, and there isn't any Marines there in order to deal with that, so that's good for problem. Ultralisks are on the way out onto the field. There's already those 4 Broodlords, so really all the tier 3 tech coming out from the Zerg player. Meanwhile, we have got the 4th base getting secured by Dashi after taking out the Overlord. Also building more command centers, because that's what you do late game. And is there a Widow Mine sitting there? There is indeed, as that ping goes down everywhere.
So I don't know, again, I have no idea who's pinging, but because they've been pinging before, I expect that Widow Mine to momentarily die, because that seems to be how it is. So we'll see if that ends up happening. I'm pretty sure that one Widow Mine isn't going to make the difference in this game, unless... Oh, pardon me. Yep, look, there we go. The next unit in the game to die was that Widow Mine. Grim Reaper caster pinging away.
That's like worse than a cast. It's just like your highlight the next day. Clearly a Zelnaga Yes, we've got more units slowly amassing. Where are the Broodlords? That's the thing I really want to know.
They're with the army in the center.
Yeah, they're just happily moving over. They do get scouted though. The Ultralisks obviously out on the field as well. Upgrade-wise, 3-3 up against 3-3. Drilling Claws is done. The Kuiper's plating, Adrenal Glands. This is really as late game as you get, but the Broodlords are completely exposed, and the Vikings are going to town.
Yeah, every single Broodlord's going to go down here, but the Ultralist tech transition has already been made. He's now rolling in to the 3rd base location. There's a lot of Widow Mines here. I'm not sure this is going to work out too well. Widow Mines being triggered, and it looks like XiGua is being pushed back. I wonder if XiGua's left it a little bit too late, because Dashi has been able to regroup here. His upgrades are great at 3-3, and he's actually taking a supply lead right now. He's at 192 to 163 for XiGua, despite being only on 3 base for such a long time in this game. He's got his 4th up now, and the 5th command center is down 2. Imagine if XiGua could deny, and just as I'm talking about it, deny this potential 3rd base location for much longer. He needs to control these speedlings much better. He's currently attacking command center when he could be killing off drones, SCVs rather, and there we go. Decent number of links killing off SCVs. That's exactly what we needed. Ultras in the middle of the map, chomping through these bio units. Like Banelings, they also just want hugs, and it looks like they're going to get quite a few of them there as most of this army gets cleaned up.
Dashi is dropping at the 5th most location. Meanwhile, XiGua has completely decimated the middle line at the 4th of Dashi. This game is getting very, very harassing heavy. Drops coming down everywhere, drops in the main, drops in the 4th. And meanwhile, XiGua is just running Zerglings in everywhere. This is completely localized attacking, multi-front to the max. A couple of invests down the field as well are going to really help. And we've even got drop techniques returned by XiGua.
If we see Ultralist drop, then I think my day would actually be complete. That would be unbelievably amazing right now. Both sides, it's basically a boxing match at the moment. Dashi once again at a slightly higher supply than XiGua. I'm not sure what he's doing with these 3 Ultralists out in the middle of the map. Again, they're just looking for a couple of hugs, but they're really not going to find them here as this Bio Army takes them apart. Maybe a little bit of a missed rally point. He's just constantly streaming in with a couple of Zerglings and 1 or 2 Ultras. It's just not enough at this point. XiGua needs to go back, needs to regroup, and instead he's throwing away more units. He doesn't have a bank. He cannot afford to do this.
No, he cannot afford to do this. He's exactly right. More Zerglings are still coming in though, but as we see, Widowmines being strategically placed in run-through paths, just trying to knock them out as they come through. Of course, you can run straight over and get away with it, but the problem being that if they stop anywhere, such as the buildings in the way, the Widowmines will detonate on speedlings. An Ultra is on-bombing its way through the 4th base here, just killing a couple of units, and then will turn tail and run away. But Dashi with a pretty astronomical lead here, 179 supply to 124.
There was a point in this game where XiGua was 30, maybe 40 supply ahead of Dashi, but I feel that in those positions you need to consolidate and really punch through with a huge army, and what XiGua has been doing since he had that advantage was trickle in with units, and you cannot do that against a decent bio army, especially with medevacs in tow, because when your units die, their numbers don't actually get depleted, and the infestors moving way too far forward. A little bit of miss micro there, and 2 infestors, even though they get a fungal growth down, do get taken out early. A Widow Mine shot coming down now as well, and look at these Vikings. They're looking very embarrassed right now because there are no Brood Lords, but that doesn't actually matter at this point. He's picking apart XiGua a couple of units at a time. XiGua is not engaging with his whole army at once, and that's going to be enough.
And that means 2-0 to Dashi, who advances through to the semi-finals.
Wow.